The name of this segment is going to be the cheapest, fastest, easiest way to fill a dent, guaranteed. So in my uncontrollable excitement, I've managed to miss a couple of dents in this roof. And by miss, I mean conveniently ignore until they became a problem. And they're now a problem, so we have to fix them. So here, I just kind of put some primer on so you can kind of see there's one dent here, another one here, and a little tiny guy right here. And on the other side of the roof here, we've got a low spot right here and kind of a crease going along here. I thought this was just a rust spot, but it is actually, there is a crease here. So it looks like maybe they drove under like a low hanging tree or some sort of apparatus like that and just pushed it in a little bit. And there's also a bit of an outie right here, so we can tap that down. This side is going to be a little bit more tricky just because it's more in the flat of the roof and there's not a lot of strength here. So the first thing you want to do is get yourself some of this plastic body filler. I like to buy the cheapest stuff available, and you're going to need at least a gallon of this, if not more. Remember, spare the filler, spoil the job. Then what you want to do is you want to take your plastic filler and you want to set it aside in the corner somewhere where it's not going to get in the way. Shove it over there for now. Once you got your plastic body filler safely set aside, you want to go out and you want to get yourself some of this lead body solder. And no Randall, we're not going to stick it in our ears, but we are going to take it and rub it over our bare hands, get the safety Steves riled up. This step's optional. And once you've done that a few times and you got the keyboard experts tapping away, telling me how dangerous this is, you can go ahead and take your lead body solder and you can set that aside, probably next to the plastic filler. Alrighty, I got my ear mittens on and my finger plugs in. So we got a dolly here with some curvature. We're going to use this one because of the way that it is. And we'll just kind of gently try and rough out this damage here. Just bump it up from the bottom. You can kind of get the light right. You can kind of see the action as it occurs. We'll hold this under here, something like this, and then we'll take this little guy here and just kind of tickle the high area around the dent, kind of into the center where it's supposed to be. Kind of a weirdness going on, so I'll just take a hammer and just kind of a little bit more finessing. Okay, so we kind of got the majority of damage roughed out here, or at least I hope so. There is a little low spot here. It's probably the point of impact, which is always going to be a little sharper than the rest of the dent. And this is just a rust spot here that's kind of interfering with our dent removal. But for this little spot, I'm just going to sheet a little bit, and I'm just going to use this bullseye pick to kind of bump it up, and then we'll see where we're at. Okay, well, I'd say we have this area more or less roughed out, but now that I'm working on it, not surprisingly, we have another shallow low spot right here. You can kind of see it in the light there. There's kind of a high area all around here and low right here. So this is fairly typical on this old stuff. You know, there's never just one dent. The whole thing is going to be covered with dents. So we'll see if we can bump this out a little better. So what I've done here is I just took a dual action sander and I sanded over the surface just to kind of give a level or an even texture or something different to look at, I guess. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a body file and I'm just going to run across here. There goes the heater. I'm just going to start working and then we'll, I don't know, just, man, I hate filming this stuff. And there's the roof repair finished. This side actually ended up coming out easier than the other side. But the thing with roof repairs is just kind of light hits, you know, light pressure with the dolly. The slapper works really good, besides using a hammer, just because you're contacting a wider area. It doesn't take much to dent a roof, even on these old vehicles with heavy gauge metal. And so it doesn't take much to usually push the dents out. The less force you use, the less work you have to finish the thing out later. This spot on the driver's side ended up being more effort, just because we found some extra damage, and I don't know, that's just the way it goes, but still not a very time-consuming repair at all. And that's about as far as I'm going to be taking this roof. Sorry for fast forwarding most of the action, but we've already got tons of dent repair videos on the channel, so you know, I just wanted to get through this. Plus, like an idiot, I was blocking the camera half the time, so didn't really make for very good video content. But when it warms up, if it ever does, I'll have to use some muriatic acid or something on this rust staining here. Get that out of there. There's all these rust spots on the roof still that we got to get out. And then we do still have to lead in all this A-post and this split that we cut through the seam on the roof here to get everything lined up. We got to lead all that in still. Off camera, I kind of finished off the splice on the roof. On this side, I think in the last video, we didn't have that finished yet, but I just quickly blasted through it. Same deal as what we did on the other side, so it didn't really feel the need to document any of that. You can see there's just a bunch of stuff going on here that's all just crudely kind of set in place with big gaps in it and stuff. I have to get the roof de-rusted a little better before we do the lead work anyways. Plus, I would like to, well, I've been going back and forth, but, you know, I basically made up my mind that we're going to have to do some molded drip rails on this. I think it'll just finish things off a little better. So when I say molded drip rails, we're going to kind of do like what's on my 35 here, just kind of a little rounded bump out on the roof. Just kind of keeps the rain out a little bit and finishes off the thing a little better. I think otherwise it'll look a little plain without them. Another exciting development is we did find rust on the windshield channel around the top here. It doesn't look like as bad as some of them I've seen, but that is going to need some repair. But that's not something I feel like doing right now, so we're just going to ignore that and deal with it in the future. On the outside, I still actually have this to cut down, which I think this is going to be a whole episode in and of itself. I'm not sure if I'm doing this next or what, but it has to be done. I'm pretty sure I have a better one of these kicking around somewhere, but I don't know where it is. And I figure if I screw this up, then it's not really a huge loss because it's already ruined. So yeah, this just fits in the center like this, and obviously needs to be cut down and some dents removed. And the challenge is that it's got this inner piece inside of here. So anyways, that might be coming soon. Oh, it was lame. Let's do something fun. Here we have these Garnish moldings, and they're supposed to fit in the door like this, but they don't fit because some clown with no respect for history decided to chop the top on this truck. And so now we have to chop these to fit, and it just bugs me so much, you know. I just wish people would restore every vehicle, you know. It doesn't matter how much of a clapped out, derelict parts, hopeless, rusted nightmare that it is. It doesn't matter what it costs, just restore everything, you know. Everything should be restored back to better than new. That's just the way it should be. Like, I'm not going to do it because I'm too busy flapping my mouth on the internet, but somebody should. Oh, the humanity. Let's cut these things down and make them fit. Alrighty, I'm not going to make you watch round 2, but we have to repeat this whole process all over again. A lot of fiddly, tedious, time-consuming stuff that you think is going to only take 15 minutes and it ends up taking half a day. This is one of the reasons why a chop is so expensive, because you got to do all this little stuff to finish it off, and if you don't do this, well, then the glass isn't going to go up and down, and the window channel isn't going to fit, and so we'll just carry on, I guess. And there's the door garnishes, all garnished. Kind of one of those things that kind of gets forgotten about until the last minute, and I'd rather just get it out of the way now because it is kind of a tedious job. This gives the inside of the doors a little nicer finished look. I do still have these window trims to finish for the door. And these here, they fit on the outside, just into the channel like so. And just kind of gives I guess a finished look to the outside of the frame. I don't have a good set right now. You know, like I don't see any, I'm all for fixing junk, but I don't see any real reason that I have to fix that. The other set I have that came off the 48 GMC are rusted out. But, you know, next time I'm at the junkyard, I'll just pick up a set of these. They're not that hard to find. And not worth trying to fix junk. At least in this case. Is that the best toy ever? Huh? Oh, I thought we were done, eh? Nope, not even close. We still got these to cut down. These are the windshield garnish moldings. So these are supposed to fit, you know, in here, but they don't fit. So we're gonna have to cut these down as well. Hopefully the spiders don't mind. So when I'm doing stuff like this, I like to just install everything and basically build it off the vehicle and use the vehicle as a jig, because at the end of the day that's what it has to fit. So I can do a whole pile of measurements and fancy stuff like that and build these on the bench and then find out they don't fit the vehicle. You know, everybody's got their own way of doing things, but this seems to be the most efficient way for me. Plus I'm not very good at math. Whatever I can do to avoid having to do basic math is a win in my books. Now we don't have the windshield rubber in, which will kind of change things a little bit, but these windshield ones are usually fairly forgiving. Famous last words, but we should be able to kind of just, you know, do some educated guesswork and get it in the ballpark. Not too worried about it. That's a deal with it later problem. Alrighty, well it turns out that me struggling and welding in a dark dungeon doesn't make for very epic content. So there's the garnish moldings for the windshield sliced down and welded up. Now let's get them installed. There's the windshield garnish all installed there. Garnish moldings are kind of one of the things I enjoy about these old vehicles, because it just you know, lets you know you're in a proper automobile. The way everything's nicely put together and finished off, not like on modern cars where all you get is these great big honking globular chunks of depressing plastic everywhere, held together with these horrible plastic clips that explode if you so much as even look at them wrong. What a terrible thing. Look at the nice screws they use to hold everything together. You know, what a shame it is that like even like the cheapest base model farm truck is back in the day was put together with more care and quality than, you know, the nicest of luxury cars today. Seems like back then they at least, you know, made an effort to make you at least think you were getting something half decent. Like back in the 1930s, this would have been a cheap disposable car. This was like basically the Hyundai of the 1930s, like, and it was built during the middle of a Great Depression. But like, look at some of the details on here. Like, look at the door handles. Look at the quality of that. Look at the little double line detail in the handle. And they actually cared enough to carry that detail out into the trunk hinges as well. Look at, they even carried the detail out into the interior handles. Look at how nice that is. Just ignore the cheesy blue upholstery, that's not factory, but you know, it's like the designers were actually talking to the engineers and, you know, trying to make something that was nice. Nowadays you just get a cheesy blobular plastic chunk of something for a handle that shears off after 10 years, and then you gotta go to the dealership and pay $500,000 to have it replaced, and you can't do it yourself because you gotta reprogram the stupid computer every time you take out a screw or a plastic clip. Look at how much room there is in the back seat. Like, I'm 5'11" and I can almost stretch my whole legs clean out to the front here. Like, there's so much room back here. I try sitting in the back of like a new Cadillac or something like that, and you know, my knees end up being up around my ears, and the back seat in this is actually comfortable too. And keep in mind, this is a base model cheap disposable car. Like this is just a plain Jane Chevy. Can you imagine how nice the Cadillacs and stuff were back then? Look at how nice and symmetrical the dash is. Just ignore the aftermarket knobs there. Those aren't factory, but everything else is all nice and symmetrical. The gauges are clear and easy to understand. You know exactly what everything does. There's no mystery. You don't have to be a computer programmer to understand it. And it actually has gauges. Like, you know, nowadays you just get a big honking massive computer screen in the middle, flat screen TV. They gotta turn the whole interior into a mobile entertainment center just to distract you from how depressing and pathetic and boring it all is. And look at all the visibility. The windows everywhere, like you can see the whole world around you. All the windows roll down. You got vent windows in the front and rear that roll out. Lots of fresh air. You can see everything, you know. You don't gotta be cooped up inside like sardine. They even put ashtrays in the back seat for the children. How thoughtful is that? And the trunk might look small. Believe it or not, you can actually get a full-size 16-inch spare tire back there, plus your luggage, because they were smart. They engineered things back then, and the trunk actually runs, you know, way back into the body here, underneath the back seat. So lots of room. Don't get me wrong, this is just a mass-produced car. GM was building cars to sell. They were not building cars to last 90 years. This thing was really only intended to last 5, maybe 10 years tops. Difference is, let's take a trip back in time to 1935. Let's say we pull into the dealership there with our old 1925 Chevrolet, and we go in and we take a look at this brand spanking new 1935 Chevy, and then we take a test drive in it, and wow, this thing would have felt and looked like a totally different car, like a spaceship almost, compared to that 1925 Chevy. Almost 3 times the horsepower, synchromesh transmission, independent front suspension, full steel roof, streamlined body, 4-wheel brakes, the list goes on and on. Fast forward to 2024, and I don't know my modern cars too well. I don't know what the exact GM equivalent to this car would be in today. Let's just say a Chevy Equinox. I think those are still around. Take a 2024 Equinox and a 2014 Equinox. You can't even tell the difference. What's the difference now? I don't know. Looks exactly the same to me, probably drives exactly the same. Maybe there's a few extra electrical gadgets and things that'll be obsolete in 2 years. Biggest difference now is going to be the price. You're going to be paying a whole lot more for the 2024 Equinox than you did for the 2014 and getting the exact same car. Seems to me like somewhere along the way, auto manufacturers just lost their way. I'm not picking on just General Motors in particular. I'm saying every vehicle produced today should be better than it is. What's this rant leading up to, you ask? Probably not a whole lot, but what's going to be happening is we're going to be working on this car next. Now don't panic, the chicken truck's not going anywhere, but I don't know if you noticed or not, but this truck still needs thousands and thousands of hours of work to get it into something that's actually a truck or a vehicle of any kind, really. Now this car here only needs a couple weeks worth of work to get it roadworthy, or we'll just kind of round that up to a month. Either way, you need substantially less work to make it into a usable vehicle. I decided I needed an old car to drive around again. I haven't had one for a long time. I've been driving around in a modern Chevelle like a poser. You know, listen to me yap on and on all this time about driving old cars, and, you know, look at him driving this modern junk. Anyways, so yeah, we're gonna set aside a couple weeks, get this thing on the road, because it's already been abandoned here for almost 2 years, and the longer it sits, the harder it's gonna be to revive it. So we're just gonna go through it and work on it, not in the next episode, and probably not the episode after that, but definitely, you know, the episode after the episode after the episode. We'll be working on this car for a little bit, get it back on the road hopefully, and then we'll be back on the chicken truck. I know everyone's here for body work, but unfortunately the cars that I actually want to drive all need mechanical work. So parked this car a couple years back because the sketchy homemade motor mounts finally failed. But there's also a few other issues that need to be addressed. You can see we've already got the steering box taken out, and there's some suspension work that needs to be done and some other odds and ends, but should hopefully be a nice driver when we're done tinkering with it with minimal effort. My selfish goal is to get one vehicle on the road a year. Last year we got my 66 GMC on the road. This year it's going to be this car, and hopefully next year the 36 Chevy truck. And if everything goes right, the year after that, this thing should be pretty darn close to getting on the road. The chicken truck is definitely a long-term project. It's kind of like Project Binky, except with less brackets, less entertainment value, and less quality. So I think the next episode we're going to attempt to straighten out and repair the stainless center windshield molding, as well as chop it down the required amount. This is the center for the chicken truck there, and if that goes well, there'll be an episode on that, and if it goes terribly, then there won't be an episode at all, and I'll have a damaged stainless thing that I have to throw away. After that, we got a little secret side project. That should only be one episode on that, and then probably mid-April, 35 Chevy, a couple episodes on that, and then we're back hard on the chicken all the time for who knows how long, probably most of the year. So that's the plan going forward. Remain calm if you don't see an episode on the chicken truck for a little bit after this one. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, everybody, and huge thank you to all the patrons of the show and all the folks sending in donations. I really appreciate it so much. It helps me continue working on this chicken nightmare that we got going on here.